go bag, but mine personally will only last me for about a week.
About a week.
Yeah.
All right. Question? Okay. So, good segue. We want to make sure that our go bag can protect us for at least 30 to 45 days. Okay? And if you have a mold-ready bag like this, something that is thick, tear-resistant, has a lot of pouches and bags, right? These are military-ready equipment. It's about how do you package, fold, and carefully select the items to go in here so that the essentials that you have here does stretch out to that long, right? If you feel like, well, what I have in my go bag right now can only last about maybe a week, maybe 14 days, then you want to consider how many things that you have in your go bag that may be unnecessary, too large, right? So if you are taking notes, whether you have your cell phone or a notepad, I want you to write down, the main goal here is to maximize space, minimize weight. Okay? So if I say I want you to put some food items in here that will help you survive, you could throw a whole bunch of canned goods in here, right? But those canned goods are going to get very heavy pretty quickly, right? And because it's a steel or a tin can, it's a solid form. It's not malleable, right? It can't shift. You can't move things around in your backpack to make space. So it's a fixed object. Does that make sense? As opposed if I say, get a Ziploc bag and put some oatmeal in it, or some green powder, or some rice. Because it's a Ziploc bag, it's now malleable, right? It doesn't take up a lot of space. It can slide in any pouch or widget or containment area that you have, and it's now flexible. And it allows you to maximize space and minimize weight. We all good? All right, so those are just the main elements. Yep.
Am I allowed to take photos of the screen? No problem. Just checking too.
You can take photos of the ceiling.
Photographic memory is what I'm going to have to.
Valid. Just
Now,
I'm a sucker for wanting information.
what I'll do is if you share your email with Brother Nick on the way out, I'll make sure that we get a version of this slide deck over to you. I think that would be fair. Yes, ma'am.
How would you store water in your to-go bag to last 30 to 45 days?
Very good question. And we're going to get into water a little bit later, but you definitely do not want to store water in your go bag. Anybody know why?
It could, if it breaks, it could ruin your other items.
Yeah, so a leak can be damaging. What else?
I was going to say weight purposes.
Weight. The goal, that's why I'm leading with this. The goal of your go bag is to maximize space and to minimize weight, right? So whatever you can do to minimize weight, because even if you are strong, right? You know, those who practice jujitsu and grappling, you realize you can be as strong as you want. But let's tussle for 5 minutes and see how long your muscles last then, right? Fatigue is serious, right? And then after we start humping, right? If I say, hey, we need to travel, our vehicle ran out of gas, or we need to pull over, we need to find a safe space in this national park, let's say, or in this area where we're away from the beaten road, we may need to travel 3, 4, 5 miles to find true safety. Well, how long can you last before you tire out, right? So the weight is to protect you to get to where you need to be if you're truly looking for shelter, right? So light, agile, essential. So water, no. But to her question, we'll get into ways you can find a source of water and purify it. You want a sustainable source of water. Because whatever you can carry, let's truth be told. Let's say you carry 2 gallons or 5 gallons of water with you. I mean, it'd be pretty heavy, but how long do you think 5 gallons of water is going to last you? It's not going to, I mean, water is something you can't play around with. Without water, you die. So it's not about what you can carry, it's about what you can purify and what you can find, okay? All right, so when I share this PDF with you, it will come with links. All right, these links will direct you to Amazon's product list where you can get these things. What I will do is try to, as much as possible, highlight the amount of money it will cost you in order to get that item. Okay, but some of these items real quick, remember you want to make sure you get a bag that is tear resistant. It has multiple support straps and pockets and compartments. The more compartments, the better. Now, the square percentage of area in a go bag, it could be the same versus another, but why is it important to have more compartments than just a big pouch or duffel bag? Why do you think the compartments are necessary?
Yeah, one, easy access to whatever you're reaching for. Second, if case you got some things that can't be wet or that something breaks in there and it leaks everywhere, that's the
Okay. Anybody else? What do you think?
Yeah, if you have a big pouch and the things on the bottom of your bag that you need to get to, you're gonna have to be ripping everything out just to get to that bottom
Right,
place.
exactly. So it's about easy access and organization, right? I need to know that maybe the top pouch is my flashlights, my fire starting equipment. Maybe my next one has my multi-tools like my pliers or my hatchets or whatever. And then my next one, maybe that has to do with access, like breaking a window or popping a lock, or maybe it's my compass, maybe it's my map, right? I need to know ahead of time. So as I'm traveling, think about it. If I need to be moving around from place to place, I can't take everything out of my go bag, lay it out on the ground, and like, where was that one thing? And then put it back in, right? So the things that I normally use more frequently, that I need to find really quickly, I need to have on the outside of my bag. And the things that I need to protect from the elements or from water or something like that, I want to keep inside, and I want to make sure the things that I use less frequently, keep that inside. Does that make sense? All right, so good starter.
What is that mold system? What is that stand for?
I forgot. MOL is like military operational logistics something system. But yeah. Yeah.
The aim for 45L or higher. Is there a bag size that's probably too much? That's not necessary?
It depends on the individual who's carrying it, right? It depends, right? Some people are used to doing these long treks that are like 40, 50 miles, right? They go to California. They have some pretty famous hiking trails where people live outdoors off the land as long as they can so they can harden themselves. And those are the situations where you definitely want to have those large type. Now, what I'm specifically talking about, from 55 to 60 liters, is ideal for a single adult in your family. One go bag should be able to handle 2 minors in your family, okay? So look at your family size. You have yourself, maybe your significant other, maybe you have some young adults in the household. Every last able-bodied individual that could have common sense, safety, and the strength to carry a bag needs to have a bag. Right? Because we are going to talk about some essential items that each one of those persons are going to need to get by on their own. So one bag per individual. Minors, one bag should cover 2. Okay? So now we'll talk about, where do you think your MO bag should be? Right? You have your go bag. You have it ready to go. Where is this go bag in your home?
Mine's under my bed.
Under your bed? Okay.
Mine is like right in my closet by my entrance to my house.
Got it. Very good.
Mine's in my trunk.
Okay. We're going to talk about that.
Mine is right there. I'll share it with him.
No, where's the Norman? Where's the Norman store?
Mine is wherever y'all do. I'll put mine where hers is, right next to the door.
Yeah, so you want it near an area that you don't use often, but you know that as you're about to head out the door, you know where it's at. So near the front, like there's a closet normally near the door where people hang their coats and stuff like that. Having go bags in that area is really good. Now, if it's under your bed and you know like how to access it really quick, great. So you're talking about something that's accessible, something that you can easily remember, something that is not going to be filled with clutter. And now you're like, where are my go bags? In this closet. Make sure that whatever it is very clear and accessible. Problem with leaving items of disimportance in vehicles is theft. If someone breaks into your car because they want to get your sound system, they may think that that's valuable. I've had probably 6 break-ins into my vehicle in my lifetime. You know, no matter what car I get, I have bad luck where I'm getting jacked. This is a matter of time. I haven't always lived in the nicest communities, right? So just be mindful of that. Like I wouldn't gamble that. I will secure that in my home. I think an argument could be made that we could have a similar workshop like this, not for go bag training, but for bug-in training. And what happens if we can't leave to a secondary location? How do you fortify your home? How do you make sure that your home is a fortress to protect you from said purge if one were to go down? Right? So that's a whole nother workshop. All right. So
Think about quickly. What do you think about having like 2 maybe? One in the vehicle, one in the house.
Very good question. So there are some things that you should have in your car at all times. So your map, while you have a map that is laminated, waterproof in your go bag, your vehicle needs to have some overlap and duplicate. You know, so some of the things you have in your go bag is not that your go bag don't have those items, but you also have some of those items in your car just in case. So those ham radios you see over there, we're going to have another workshop where we're talking about communication so that you have the ability to connect with those that you trust in certain critical times, and you have the ability to have call signs and frequencies that you all agree upon that you can coordinate and make sure that you can link up and you know where the meetup is, because your cell phones are not going to work in these dire situations, right? So we want to make sure that you have your radios and certain multi-purpose tools, flashlights, anything that could generate power in your car. But it doesn't mean that you don't have those things also in your go bag just in case, because you never know. Maybe you have to hijack another car. We don't know how critical we are into society, where now is every person for themselves, every family for themselves, and now everyone is just taking whatever property they can to fend for themselves. There's stages of humanity that we could discuss. I think that some of the literature that you were spouting off, right? And how quickly it could be.
It goes feral basically.
It happens faster than we think. And history has shown us these things. Okay. Now that we have everything ready for our go bag and we understand the process of where to store it, we know the key components on how to put it together. Let's talk about some of those items. Water is probably the most important thing, right? So for worst case scenarios, matter of fact, JD, if you can help me over here. For worst case scenarios, we're going to come on this side, so you're not in the way. You want to have at least 3 separate ways to get your water source, okay? From canals to maybe a bottle of water, right? There's some things that you want to think about, but the biggest thing is you want to have water purification tools. Now, that right there you see is a light straw, so go ahead and hold that up. This is my version of it. Matter of fact, hand me that camouflage one right there. Nope, camouflage one. Nope. Oh. Yep. All right, so anybody familiar with this? Okay, so what we do is you pour water into this and you shake it, and then right off the other end it goes through a membrane similar to you having like a RO system, right? This helps you with lake water or creek water, okay? Now, when you drink from those type of water sources, what really gets you is the organisms in it, right? That's what makes you sick. That's what makes you vomit over and over and over again. You have amoeba-like creatures in there that are parasitic to us, so we can't just drink the water straight up. This membrane normally is very good at filtering that out, but even then, I wouldn't do this straight. What I will do is I will find a shirt or cheesecloth, put it over a container like a bucket or a large jar, and then I will pour the water into that to be the first early screen, right? And then take that, maybe boil it, use some other things, and then use this as the last thing and carry this with me So this is my water bottle, right? So this is the last thing that I use, right? So I'm walking, I'm sipping, and I can carry this with me. Does that make sense, everybody? And then at your base, at your tent, you have the rest of that water ready to go. Again, all of these are micro workshops that we could work on. We could have a whole workshop just on how to sanitize water and identify water. So if I asked you, what's the type of source of water that you should stay away from? What do you think that is? You said river and lake water? Close. What do you think, sir?
I was just thinking when you just said boil, and I thought boiling enhances the negative properties and stuff, so that doesn't really work to purify.
We'll get into that a little bit. Okay, good. Brother Gator, what do you think in this scenario? What type? I say, hey, don't drink from that water. So we out here in the elements, you see a body of water, and be like, no, we're not doing that. We need to drink from something else. What's your sign to say that's not the type of water we should be using? Peace and blessings, sir. How are you?
How are you born?
You from the lake or
Everybody.
just basically tell
Okay. And lastly, you.
Flint water?
Certainly don't drink Flint water. Yes.
I was gonna say standing water.
Round of applause.
What is it?
Standing water. Now the question is well, Brother James, we have been into some lakes. Standing water is a water that doesn't have any movements on the bottom or the surface. You can almost see a film over it of chemicals sometimes, but if it's just stagnant, non-moving water, that's bad. Always bad. Never try it. Some lakes are so large, right? It has the ebb and flow of like a beach, right? You have ripples and waves, you have movement and settling, and it has enough runoff and leaching so a lot of the contaminants can go to the base, but a lot of the good portion is at the top, right? So if it's a large body of water like a lake, yes, you can make that as a livable source. Matter of fact, most settlements, if we're looking for a place to survive and thrive, finding a nearby lake not only is going to help you with another portion of the go bag, seed saving and growing food. You don't know how long you're going to be out there, right? So you want to make sure that you have access to water to either grow food, to hydrate, to wash clothes, right? Disease is a very real thing, depending on how long you're being out in the elements. So if you're unclean and you have the inability to wash your clothes, we're in trouble. So a lake is your best friend. A river is A+, add extra points. That's the ideal way because it's running water. So the more movement of the water, the more stones and pebbles, the more minerals you're getting in that water. Does that make sense? Because if it's stagnant, you're not getting the metals you need out of water, right? So for long-lasting, long excursions where we're out in the elements, a river is number 1, a creek number 2, a lake number 3, standing water, no. We all good? All right, so
is this solely used as a straw or to actually put water in and carry around with you?
both. It's a straw, so you're pouring things in here, it can only contain so much, right? So you want to have 2 or 3 of these in your go bag. They don't take up a lot of space, very, very, very lightweight. These will last for about 20 to 30 gallons of use before one, yeah. So you're constantly pouring, but depending on how contaminated that lake is, this is going to get messy really quick. Does that make sense? So after a while, this will no longer be good. So it's about cleaning off your membranes. So there's a lot of classes that we need to do. Hand me, hand me that. Okay. All right, so now we're talking about stainless steel water bottles. These are things that you can add to your go bag. Should that be inside your go bag?
No.
Right, you want to put it on the outside pouches like this, on the outside, but always try to have a stainless steel, not plastic bottle. Why not plastic?
Leaching, basically.
Leaching, very good, very good. If the plastic is in direct sunlight, it starts to break down, and then as you drink that water, you're actually contaminating yourself, and you don't know how long you're going to be gone, and now your health is at risk. But water purification tablets. This also is important if you're doing bugging. These are more reliable than boiling to the gentleman over here. Instead of boiling your water, that could exacerbate certain chemicals, especially out of tap water, right? So the anti-boiling measure, sir, for you is for tap water, not lake water, okay? Unless that lake has like a chemical plant, but it's the chemicals that you normally find, the runoff. Boiling can be harmful, but if you need to boil river water, there's no problem with that.
I came in right on time. If you ran out of water, can you temporarily boil tap water for a couple of days? Or is that?
It's not ideal. You don't want to boil tap water if you can. What you want to do is use these, okay? These pouches, matter of fact, hand me that tablet, that pill bottle, yeah. So these right here are potable aqua tablets. These tablets, one of these will handle about 2.5 gallons at a time, right? One of these has about 100 tablets in it. These cost maybe about $10. You want to have one of these. This will get me through 90 days of using tap water as I find it, okay? Or use one of these pouches. These pouches are a little bit more powerful, made by the same company that does the purification. And what we're trying to do is get rid of the bacteria and the organisms that will make you sick. Now, it does not remove chemicals from the water. Does that make sense? So it's a combination of all these techniques. If you want to make sure that your water is as healthy as possible, right? And someone's going to run out more than others. Yes?
I have a question. So, say for instance, you do use one of the tablets with the water. Would the next step be boiling then?
Boiling for lake or river water, ideal. Stay away from tap because each of you should be able to get access to the water report in your municipality and where you are. And when you look at your water report, you'll be amazed at how many chemicals are allowed up to an acceptable amount that you put on your skin every time you take a shower, every time you use tap water to boil your food, everything from plutonium to even certain allowable traces of cyanide are in your water. There's a lot of radioactive things that are allowed in your city. Some cities are worse than others. Buckeye is different from Scottsdale. Done classes on this, okay? So if you are into plumbing, you know that they sell home filtration systems, not just a RO device. Some people feel comfortable with getting a reverse osmosis system where you have the drinkable water that makes your tap water safe. And while that's cool because it has membrane and carbon filters to filter that out, the problem is you're still taking a shower, right? So what we want to do is stop those elements, remove those chemicals and trace radioactive particles from your water before it gets into your water main of your home, which is why you want to get a home water filtration system to protect your family, right? So that you're not putting hard elements on your body. That's a whole nother discussion for another day. That's for a bug-in class. But for bug-out, we're talking about these purification tablets, and these are going to work well because the goal is to maximize space and to minimize weight. Good class. All right, so those life straws I was showing you are about $20. It's probably the most simplest and efficient way to make sure that you have survivable water in a pinch. The next thing, especially if you're going to be out in the elements for a long period of time, or let's say you have a collective and you have a spot of land that maybe we have access to a well, and we need to get things from a nearby lake, we all need to pitch in to get a jerry can. A jerry can is something that will last about 5 years of filtering water in and out. That system is remarkable. We have one at the house. They are about $300, but with that, I could go to a nearby canal over and over and over and over again, and it removes chemical traces as well as organisms. It's probably the most sufficient way to make sure that you and your family can thrive, not just barely survive, and have enough water to bring back that you could cook with and not be freaked out like I gotta take baby sips through the course of the day with parched lips type of thing, right? That is the next stage. but it's rather large. I only added it because you want to have this in your car. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So this is something that you have to tote. So Nika and I, the way we have it, I have my go bag, she has her go bag, I carry the heavy items, she carries the food, medical equipment, and the map, and I carry the jerry can if we need to go hunt, right? Because it's heavier. Or I might just empty it so it's light, and then we get to where we are, I find a nearby body of water, and I bring that back. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, sir.
I told you, that's a secret. Jerry can is probably the most important thing on the list. Those of you taking notes, jerry can. All right. Food supply items. Let's talk about this. You need to pack items that are high in nutritional value and has calories. Essential minerals is going to be key here, right? So, everybody familiar with green powder? All right, so green powder normally have a lot of superfoods in it. Vitamin K, right? So you're talking about spirulina, spinach, greens that are ground into powder form. You want to get those and be able to put it in a water bottle like this, and you can take this as a supplement, right? So let's talk about this. How you doing? I'm Brother James. Growth Spot. Of course, we're doing an emergency go bag training class. I assume that's why you're here, sir. Right now, we went over some essentials, why these go bags are important, some of the main key things to consider. We talked about water purifying first. Now what we're about to roll into is the food items, and the main goal here is to maximize space and minimize weight. So when I talk about getting food, I talked to some of you earlier about avoiding fixed hard items like canned goods or large items that are going to take up a lot of space in your go bag, and it's going to be very heavy, and now you're going to be winded and exhausted if you have to travel too long. And if it's too heavy, your straps start to break, and after a while start getting rips and stuff like that. So if I tell you that you could eat maybe 20 cans of some Chef Boyardee or whatever, or chicken in a can or whatever, and that can last you for maybe 4 or 5 days, or maybe 12 days. But if I give you green powder, you can sip on that and survive for months on end, just water and green powder. Does that make sense? Now you're gonna get money, but you will thrive and survive. All you need is superfoods to survive and multivitamins. If you want to lift that up, though, that's an example of green powder that you could put in some Ziploc bags, and then I got some other items I'm going to be showing you pretty soon. All right, but you want to get calorie-dense foods. You can order these things, and I'm going to be sharing this list with each of you before you leave. That's Brother Nick over there behind the laptop. Share your email with him, and what we'll do is send you a PDF version of this that have all these links so that you could go to Amazon and get them yourself. But you want to get some MREs, or commonly known as SOS Emergency Food Ration. Okay? These have a shelf life of 5 years plus. Some of the MREs from the military, I should have led with this. I served the Marine Corps for 5 years. I was stationed down in Yuma, which is why I have so much useless knowledge in my head right now, floating around on survivability. You want to get something that, again, is lightweight, doesn't take up a lot of space in your backpack, and just have 1 or 2 of those items per backpack. But I will fill up the bulk of the others with multivitamins and green powder, or Ziploc bags that have grains, oats, rice, beans, right? You can take all types of beans, whatever your favorite bean is, because the beans are not only high in nutritional value, you can also use it to plant. You know how you can take any bean that you find in the store, and you can place them in a jar of water and let it sit, and a few of them will sink to the bottom, and a few of them will stay floating and begin to sprout roots. Once we have a certain level of germination going, what we'll then do is plant them in seed starters, and then that's where my wife comes in. My wife is an urban farmer. She is a director of St. Vincent de Paul Urban Farms. She feeds like over 100,000 homeless people over the course of the year. And we have our own urban garden that is off of 2nd Street in Durango called Heart and Soil People's Garden, where we teach people how to grow their own food. We take care of the soil, we take care of the space, we teach you how to build a raised bed. I teach vermiculture. We just had a whole workshop about worms, right, and composting. But learn how to grow your own food, because again, you don't know how long you're going to be in the elements, right? So there are stages and phases of you being away from your home and your shelter. And if this is a quick, I got to get away for a couple days and come back, that's one thing, but we don't know. So make sure your go bag is prepared for all those moments. Okay, so freeze-dried meals, you could either freeze dry or dehydrate, right? Dehydrated fruits, right? Fibers. Why is it important to have fiber in your diet, or dried fruits, right? I mean, I could give you a whole bunch of beans and stuff like that, but you know what could happen to you if for too long you go without having some type of fiber and fruit in your diet. You know what could happen? Right, you're gonna get constipated. That's gonna be a whole problem. Remember, our go bag is for survivability. So we need to make sure that everything in here is going to allow us to have an extended liaison away from our normal shelter in health. So how do we sanitize ourselves? How do we keep ourselves clean? How do we make sure that we keep our gut health intact? Okay? All right. Now, we talked about MREs already. That's a link there. Brother Javion, that plate right here off to the side, lift that up. All right, so this is what my wife and I use. You can open it up. All right, so when we go on excursion and camping trips, right, so we have these things right here. So this is a collapsible bowl, right? So I could put my oatmeal that I have in here. You have your eating utensils, right? You know, things like this. You have this in each bag, or at least one person is carrying the utensils or whatever, but these don't cost a lot of money. And because they're collapsible, they don't take up a lot of space. So I check all those boxes, okay?
Did that bag come with, mine's the oatmeal, of course, come with all this?
Yeah, you can get that at Walmart. You know, order on Amazon. Yeah, it comes with a little netting like that. Keep everything together. All right, so I did not bring my fishing line. All right, so I can't stress enough about the importance of having braided fishing line. Just have a small spool. You don't need a whole lot, but that can do a lot more than just help you in a fishing predicament, but also when we're talking about things that we need to do to help support a hammock or a makeshift tent later. There's a lot of different use cases for that, shaping weapons and things like that, right? If you could get a small collapsible fishing pole, that will work as fold and just fit in a small pouch like this. You don't need a lot, but this, my son has it in Flagstaff. He wanted to borrow it, okay? Anybody familiar with a yo-yo fishing reel? Raise your hand. I don't know, do I have a YouTube video on this? Yep. Let me see if I could pull this up real quick for everybody. Come on.
About to go to World Star Hip Hop.
No, it better not.
I hope you see a girl twerking or something.
It better not. We don't do that over here. Okay, while that's loading, let me go back here. All right, so essentially the way this works, you would hang that off of a branch that overhung over a body of water, right? So, you know, certain trees have branches where, you know, it's above a creek, a river, or a lake. Now, you'll place your line in your bait, and you'll have it go where the current is just pulling, and it will lock at a certain distance, and it's just dangling. That way, you have a fisherman working on your behalf automatically. Now, the way it works is when you yank on it too much, it starts to pull back. Does that make sense? So when you have catfish or trout or whatever, or even salmon, depending on the type of river you're at, if they eat on that bait and they try to pull away, they lock themselves in, right? So you could come back whenever at your leisure that you do. So you'll say you get to a site, you have a body of water, oh, let me set this up. If I catch something, I catch something. Now I'm going to forage for my fuel, for my fire, my tinder, my kindling. Let me find an area to clear for my tent. Let me set this up, make sure it's waterproof. By the time I come back, I can check and see that I catch any fish. Does that make sense? Okay. And it's only about yay big. Maximize space, minimize.
The link was ready now.
Oh.
Alright guys, I got this little reel to test out. It's called the yo-yo reel. I've got it set up to the tree here, as you can see. You need to attach it to something. This is like a self-fishing reel. So you can hook it, it's kind of like a trap. You can hook it up and then come back and see if you got a fish. So how it works is, hook it up to a tree or something, and then you see this line coming out. It has a little stop here. So when something pulls on this line, then it wants to suck all the line back in. I'm holding it so the hook doesn't go into me here. But it sucks all the line back in, and then I've got another fishing line attached with a hook. So to set it up, you pull it down, and then this little lever you put into place, and then let some line in. And then it'll hold there until it gets a tug by a fish, at which point it should pull a fish in. So we're going to try to catch a little bluegill and just see how this works. Alright, so we got
Let's not, for the sake of time, however.
I might as well use that than the real thing. It does it for you.
Exactly. So it's efficient. It allows you to focus on the main thing. Build your shelter. Consider what warmth looks like before night comes, and already have a fisherman at work for your behalf while you're gone. If you catch something, great. Maybe you don't. Maybe the fish in that area, that particular body of water, only like to fish at or hunt at night. Either way, if you don't catch anything, let it go. Your job is to make sure that the bait is still on the hook, because that's where most people lose out. The fish are getting smart. They learn to nibble around the hook instead of taking the whole thing. So sometimes you may need to replace the bait, but you leave that contraption going if you are confident that it's in a good place. You have a fishing reel like that in every go bag, and you put your line in that area, you put your line in that area, and figure it out. If y'all have to go days on end just drinking the green powder and eating oatmeal sparingly, you do what you gotta do. But one of the days, you guys are gonna have fish. Matter of fact, can you lift up that tackle box right there for me? Yep, Eagle Claw, yep. So, I didn't get back into here, but right, we want to have some type of bait, have hooks, have your real small, these are real skinny, doesn't take up a lot of space, but I have somewhere in here, I know I got like catfish bait in one of these things. I got the stink bait, because you can find catfish pretty much anywhere. Catfish is, like, matter of fact, okay. Where are you going when you do your go bag, right? You have a go bag that you need to go somewhere. Raise your hand if you have a secondary location already figured out. Okay. While you are in the pursuit of putting together a go bag, know that it's important that at the same time, parallel, you're considering where in the world are you going to? Think that through. If you're wise, you may even need to have several different secondary locations that you figure out, right? So you may have one that's most ideal. If, let's say, traveling north is where you want to go, or if, oh crap, we need to get to California because Arizona is tripping right now, maybe west, you need to find something between here and the California border, perhaps. Or maybe the goal is to get as far south as possible because we need to get out of the country, we need to get to Mexico. Well, what is the halfway mark to get there? And consider where your spot is. Maybe it's a place that is public, like a national park. Maybe it's a piece of land that you have purchased either yourself or with a collective group.
And if Arizona tripping, California definitely tripping too. So.
Right? There are people who travel around with utility SUVs that have their campers mounted on the top of their vehicles, right? Right? Everybody's seen those campers on top of, like, they look like a little small dome, but when you lift them up, it's like a full-size tent in there, off the ground. Don't have to worry about snakes, you don't have to worry about animals. Matter of fact, you can drive your vehicle deep into a woods, turn off the lights, and now you can safely run your generator inside your vehicle, not make a lot of noise, not bring a lot of attention. You have tinted windows. Now you can be safe with you and your family in a remote area. You pop up the tent. You don't have to worry about animals getting into your space. Does that make sense? When you think it through ahead of time, right? Where would you go? Now, if you are in that phase where you're thinking, okay, well, let me just be out of the house, but I need to be within my community still because I want to take access of the resources that are still in the city, like the canals, like different grocery stores if they're still available, like the foraging sites. Did you know that every city has certain public foraging sites for you to go to where you can forage dates, almonds? There are certain trees that are intentionally planted where you could ground them and make bread, right? There's a list. I forgot. It's like the last Go Bag training, Nika was here. My wife is the agriculturalist. She remembers these things, but it's like forage.net or something like that. But you could Google it, right? Site to show you where you could forage in your community, right? Apple trees, peach trees, all over Arizona, right? You have them. So my thing is pre-plot where these areas are. So let's say you're off grid, but you're nearby where that city is and you know where the foraging